Today is looking like it'll be pretty eventful. Still not much Delver activity though. Yvonne was able to confirm that most Delvers are waiting for the inspection before returning. She also said the Dungeoneering Guild, or the Office of Dungeon Affairs as I like to call it, expects him within the next few days to do the much anticipated look around. No, the activity will be coming from Fluffles in the Enclave. Looks like both will be finishing up sometime today. I can't wait to see what my favourite noodle will be with the Ascension finished. The rattlings in the Enclave are also much different than my normal rattlings. I think Aranya is going to do some kind of ceremony with them once she wakes up tonight, so that'll probably finish that up. I can feel my gates opening, which is a bit of a surprise, and I smile to myself as I see Elf Guy. As is tradition, Poe and all my birds start squawking, cawing, tweeting, and generally making a racket. He grimaces and looks up to Poe, as two more sets of feet join him. Rhonda and Freddy? He can't be planning to bring them on the inspection, can he? I tell the birds to shut up for a second, and the three Delvers look around. Why'd they stop? Asks Freddy, looking pretty good in what looks to be fairly worn ringmail. He has a tabard over it with a crystalline shield, so I can only assume he's getting further with being a paladin. Why did they even start? Follows up Rhonda, wearing the most classic of black mage robe and hat, and a short staff with a carved swirl on the top. Elf Guy just sighs. The dungeon knows and seems to approve of me, and shows it with the birds making noise when I show up. They stopped, because I think it knows you two are coming along for the inspection. Poe? Would you kindly flap down there and get an explanation for this? Elf Guy likes to play with the more dangerous stuff, and I don't think the kids are ready for that. The group freezes as Poe gives a louder caw and spreads his wings, casting them in shadow as he takes off. He circles a few times before gliding in and landing before them. The big bird much larger than any ordinary raven, or any bird back home for that matter. He is able to look him directly in the eye as he calls again at Elf Guy, who looks quite unhappy. I know, they're kids, but they're also the most experienced Delvers in town. The guild hasn't sent anyone to back me up for this inspection, yet it requires I not inspect solo, after what your big spider did. Tiny, corrects Rhonda and Freddy at the same time. Elf Guy just points both hands at the kids in exasperation. See? They even know your spider science name. The kids exchange awkward looks while Poe continues to eye Elf Guy. He's got a point, but I don't want the kids trying to get around the traps over in the Crypt Complex. Yvonne hasn't left for the day yet though, maybe she can help. I'll mull it over a few more seconds before giving Poe the clear, and he calls to the kids once more. Elf Guy deflates a bit and nods. Yeah, I know, they're my responsibility. I don't want them getting hurt any more than you do. Poe nods, and takes off the lamb back on his nest, letting him observe the yard and beyond. The kids look at Elf Guy with wonder. You can understand the dungeon? Exclaims Rhonda, looking like she's about to nerd out, and the elf holds up his hand to stop her. Not in so many words. It doesn't have a voice yet, so it has to speak with actions. It takes a bit of practice, and you have to get to know the dungeon a bit before you can interpret with any kind of accuracy, he explains, before putting out his little talky thing, which appears to be a magical rock. Have entered Four Dock Dungeon via the main gate at the mansion. Dungeon recognise me, but seem to want to know why I'm not solo this time. I explain the situation and it seems to accept, proceeding with inspection. I let them check out the yard and the manor while I have Timo get Yvonne's attention. She's probably a bit bored, what with not being able to sleep anymore, so she follows him without much prompting. I wonder if liches delve so deeply into forbidden magic just because it's something to do. With the party, they take a quick look around the yard, and the kids point out the new cave to the underground area, which he notes into his rock. I don't send anything too mean at them, mostly because I don't have much mean in and around the house anyway. I have some plans for some stuff for later, but I need to get my mana production back up and running with that sweet, sweet Delver income. At least they do their part on that front by fighting encounters and gathering herbs and stuff. The inspector spots the snake den and stares for a few moments before pulling out the rock. Snake sign ascending. Looks like it will finish any minute now. Conduit title, so it was the one to drain Neverest core. Consider this preliminary confirmation Neverest is subsumed. Inside the house, it's mostly the same. Fight things, loot things. Other than fight a nice swarm in the attic with lightning enchantment, and it goes pretty smoothly for them. Rhonda knows how to protect them from lightning pretty well, and Elf Guy has some serious DPS. Freddy keeps the swarm's attention, and their spiders give what support they can. I still get a lot of satisfaction that Elf Guy visibly waits to get the boss XP, before opening the chest. Out the window and onto the roof, they get a few more encounters and poke around the belfry. I want to spot some seeds she seems to like, before they head for the basement. Basement stairs contain multiple rotten and squeaky floorboards. Rat Warren has overtaken basement entirely. There appears to be an entrance to the cave system, but there is too much rat activity to make it a viable pathway. Possible location of secret sanctuary, but too much activity to confirm. They head up and out, and the inspector starts paying more attention as this is new territory for him. Fresh cave system from the earthquake reported from the expansion. Many various mining nodes observed. Minor gremlin activity drawn by the nodes. Dungeon appears to maintain focus on eliminating invaders quickly and efficiently. Oozes abundant in caves, as well as more bat activity. Dungeon appears to be still working on fully utilizing the tunnels. Likely was distracted by encroachment of Neverest. He chuckles and pockets his rock. I wish I'd been here for the fight. If Ordok hadn't launched that surprise attack, he would have been in big trouble. I wonder if Neverest actually knew most of the adventurers were gone that day. It couldn't though, right? Asked Freddy, suddenly worried that the Boneyard had been more informed than anyone had thought. The elf just shrugs. It's hard to say, but Neverest was pretty determined to cause trouble. It had wasps, too, to send on expeditions. They wouldn't be the best at gathering intel, but even they can tell when a guild hall is empty. The kids don't seem to like that, and Freddy speaks up again. Do you think Fordok keeps tabs on that kind of thing, too? Probably. That Raven sign is a marshal, so he's been managing a lot of expeditions. He chuckles at the kids. I wouldn't worry, though. This dungeon doesn't strike me as the type to actually spy on anyone. Besides, birds aren't the best at that kind of thing. Better than wasps, but they still don't pay attention to the right things. You're telling me, elf guy. I feel like half the things the bird expeditions want to tell me about are very shiny things they spotted, even when I'm pretty sure they're almost all shards of glass. Rhonda points down the tunnel they're travelling in. We should be coming up on the spider lair soon. You can handle a widow, right? The inspector nods and pulls out the rock again. Approaching spider lair, guys warn of widow spawning. It will probably be spawning Arania soon, too. The rat warren was maxed out and spawning rattling, so I doubt this one will be far behind. Widow spotted, engaging. The kids' eyes widen as they turn to face the threat. Freddy and Fiona keep it distracted and slowed with webbing, giving Rhonda a chance to freeze a few of his legs to the ground. A shadow blade from the elf, and soon they're raking in the XP. And I'm raking in the mana. Definitely going to need to get tougher delvers in to beat up more of the widows. They only take a peek inside the lair before moving on, as there are a few more widows wandering around, as they decide which tunnel they want to patrol. Further down the tunnel, Freddy points out the public war room. Public war room confirmed, even appears to be furnished via rattling craftsmanship. Table is rough but stable, chairs similar. Large map of the surrounding area and dungeon on top. He takes a few seconds to look over the thing. Secret sanctuary not included, likely other details missing as well. From the entrance comes the voice of my new resident, and she seems slightly amused by the party. Is this an inspection or a field trip? She jokes with a smile, and seems to understand why Timo led her here. The kids are a little embarrassed, but the inspector is all business. An inspection, good resident. I take it you're to help with the more dangerous areas of the inspection? He asks in a formal tone, and my burb nods. Yes. The Crypt Complex has a multitude of dangerous traps from Neverest. The dungeon seems to intend to let them wear off, but it does take time. The inspector nods and notices Timo, his official demeanour faltering a bit. Ah, and the rat scion. Still no voice, but is smart enough to communicate at least somewhat. He turns his focus back to Yvonne. Would you be willing to give information on the various scions? Yvonne glances to Timo, who nods before climbing up to rest on her shoulder, officially joining her to chauffeur the group. She returns her focus to the elf and the kids and nods. Yes, it seems the dungeon isn't against sharing that information. She doesn't continue yet. I don't know if it's because she wants them to ask specific questions, or if she's distracted by Fluffles finishing his ascension. She definitely looks up that way, at least. Elf Guy follows her gaze before his eyes widen in realization. I suppose I'll start with asking about the snake scion then.